Today's broadcast is brought to you by Kiddom. Kiddom is a standards-based platform helping teachers personalize learning. With Kiddom, teachers can gain access to an unlimited library of content with beautiful, actionable reports. And the best part is, Kiddom is free. Visit them today over at kiddom.co to learn more. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tech Educator Podcast. My name is Jeff Bradbury. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking all about Hyperdocs and ways that we can use Google Apps for education in a way that you might not have ever thought about it. There's, of course, several great ways of participating in today's show and all of the shows over on the TeacherCast Educational Broadcasting Network. We, of course, love it when you follow us on Twitter at TeacherCast. Leave us a voice message over on teachercast.net/voicemail. Email us at feedback@teachercast.net. And all of our shows, of course, are archived over on teachercast.net/audio and teachercast.net/video. And welcome back. I hope everybody's having a great time. We took a few weeks off to prepare just for tonight's show because, my goodness, it is going to be epic. We have three amazing guests that are going to be talking not about one, not about two, but many, many ways that we can use Google Docs and Google Apps for Education, otherwise known now as G Suite, and Hyperdoc them together. But first, let me bring on our tech educator co-host. She is a tech coach from the great state of Massachusetts. Let me bring on Miss Jennifer Judkins. Jen, how are you today? How are things in the Teaching Forward movement?
Things are great, Jeff. I just added a post a couple days ago about a project that kind of ties into the last show that we did about coding, and I'm looking forward to Hour of Code and all that stuff coming up next month. So we're starting to do some planning for those December activities in our district right now. I'm
so looking forward to the Hour of Code. We've got a lot of things coming up and planned on this chapter and on this subject here. Jen, you're doing a little conference right now. What are you going to be working on tomorrow?
So actually, that's just I'm working in a school district here in Massachusetts doing some teacher training around Google Apps for Education.
Fantastic. And speaking about Hour of Code and some of the great things that's going to be going on, it's not just talking about the Hour of Code, because many people look at that and say, well, I only have 60 minutes. I can handle this. It really is about taking that coding experience and going beyond the Hour of Code. We have with us today the podcaster of BeyondTheHourOfCode.com, Mr. Sam Patterson. Sam, how are you today? What is going on out there in California?
I'm doing great today, and I got to spend most of today working with kids and hummingbird robots, so that was super fun because it's a great little Arduino starter kit, basically. And what I love about working with those things is you can give the kids this written document, and you can say, no, it's all in there, go do it. And when they ask you questions, you can be like, no, you just need to do it in that written document, which is also why I'm super stoked about Hyperdocs. It's this whole learning experience that you can get alongside the kids with.
Well, let's talk.
There's something else I'm up to, Jeff, and I have to tell you.
Wait a minute. There's something else you're up to?
You know, I never stop, right? And I got this idea. Have you ever seen the, I think it's called like the Song Around the World project, where they play a song in a whole bunch of different locations and then use video to splice it together?
Sam, are you going beyond the Song That Never Ends project?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, hold on. Let me get that website. So what I came up with the other day is, have you heard the Zootopia soundtrack, Jeff?
I have not heard the Zootopia soundtrack.
Your kids don't know what they're missing. You have to check it out. Shakira has that song on there. It has a song on there called Try Everything, which is like this crazy, awesome maker anthem. It's just brilliant. You have to study the words and learn them in your heart and sing them to yourself all the time just to avoid reality. Never mind. But the song is really cool, and I invited some other teachers to go in on a collaboration with me, and we're all going to play this song in different ways and then bring it together in a video.
Would that video be wrapped around the Mannequin Project by chance?
No, because I believe in doing something, not doing nothing. Yeah.
Excellent. So we look forward to seeing that. Would that be on the brand new YouTube channel called PuppetsTellJokes.com?
No, that's something completely different. And Jeff, you know what's going to happen sometime tomorrow, probably very late in the day?
We're going to go beyond PuppetsTellingJokes.com?
PuppetsTellJokes.com is going to release its first episode where all of the jokes were written by students.
That is amazing.
I had 30 jokes sent to me last week from Andrew Cook Magnet School in Waukegan, Illinois. And they have written this episode of Puppets Tell Jokes. I'm over the moon, over the super moon.
Hey, we have a show next week. Can we use some of those jokes?
Definitely. I'll send you the cast-offs.
That's pretty cool. I want to talk today a little bit about a brand new book that is out there in Amazon. That book is called The Hyperdocs Handbook, Digital Lesson Design Using Google Docs, which is available on Amazon. You can find it in our show notes over on TeacherCast.net. I want to bring on three amazing educators, Miss Lisa Heifel, Kelly Hilton, and Sarah Landis. Ladies, welcome to the Tech Educator Podcast.
Thank you.
We're excited to be here.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about the Hyperdocs Handbook here. It's a great book found on Amazon, and what can we learn from this book?
Well, first you'll learn what a hyperdoc is, and I think that's a good place to start with anyone who's listening right now. The handbook is actually a way to teaches you how to make digital lessons that go beyond the lessons that you were doing in your classroom, go beyond the worksheet. We want to create lessons that engage students and inspire them and get them thinking on higher levels. And so we created this term hyperdoc, and the book just is a great explanation. We wanted to get it down somewhere, really defining it beyond, having the opportunity to share it on a show like this, what hyperdocs are.
I love the concept here, and even as a tech coach in my own school district, one of the things I'm working with my teachers and the students is not to think of these Google apps as individual things. Think of it as G Suite, a suite of tools that work together. Talk to us a little bit about Hyperdocs. What is it? What is the concept? Explain it to somebody who might have never heard the term before.
Great. So it's basically rooted in lesson design. So it goes back to our teacher ed programs when we were doing lesson planning. And it all starts with, teachers coming up with an objective. What do I want to accomplish out of this lesson? And then it goes into a lesson design and shifting the way we teach. One of the biggest shifts is trying to change teachers from being in the front of the classroom. And we know that it's a buzzword. We've heard that to stop the lecture and have inquiry learning, but there hasn't been a good concrete solution that teachers can grasp onto, integrating tech at the same time that's really been working. So what this is changing your cycle of learning from an explain and then apply and then assess model, shifting that to more of a let kids explore first, let them explore a concept, doing that inquiry learning, and then going in and explaining, and then the apply portion. So a good hyperdoc has each of those pieces to it.
Can I ask a question? I've heard of Hyperdocs. As you're talking about it, it sounds like a lot of the things I want in my classroom. And I've found that sometimes my best lessons end up with me instead of in front of the kids, much more in a real way alongside of them, co-discovering what's going on. And I've found that in some of those lessons, the kids end up learning things that I didn't necessarily imagine they would have learned beforehand. Is that the kind of thing that can happen in a Hyperdocs environment?
For sure, and I'm going to let everyone else jump in too, but basically it's a lesson plan you create and package. It's packaging your content, and then you don't keep your lesson plan, you give it to kids, and they can use it on any device. They can use it on 1-to-1, they can use it 2-to-1, 3-to-1, it could be one device per table group, and they work their way through the lesson. You can imagine if you're not even there, they should be able to figure out, like you just said earlier, they should be able to figure out how to get through using critical thinking, using trial and error, and having that exploration on an idea. And then you as the teacher are not up front, you're doing the rounds and you're sitting with kids and you're nudging and you're pushing and you're helping your language learners and your students with special needs because you're having them discover the curriculum. It's got a lot of pieces to it that have to be included so that it goes beyond just a digital worksheet.
So to circle back and put a finer point on it, you just described a situation where empowering all of your students with all of the information frees the teacher up to work with the students who need the most help.
It's funny because that was almost like a byproduct of creating Hyperdocs. I think we initially set out to create something that was solving all these problems we were having, like, oh my gosh, Google Apps, Google Suite, how do we use it effectively? That's one issue. The other is we're getting all these devices. What do I do with the devices? Another problem was I have, so many students. How do I feel like I reach any or all of them effectively? There's just all these, Common Core, all these, issues that were kind of thrown at educators all the time. And so Hyperdocs, we felt, was almost like a solution to a bunch of those different scenarios. And then the byproduct was, oh my gosh, I'm not standing in front of the classroom anymore. Oh my gosh, our students are far more engaged than they were before. Oh my gosh, we have kids that are going deeper with the topic than we ever set out to even accomplish with our regular lesson plan. Things like that. So I think you really nailed it. I think that the unexpected surprise once we started teaching with technology in this way was, wow, like things we hadn't even set out to accomplish. And so that's where we really saw something that was magical and worked together to create something and put it into a book and reach more teachers, because we really believe in what it was doing for not only the teacher, but really for the students. So it's kind of exciting to see that.
Excellent. So if I'm a teacher listening to this, at this point, I might be really excited about the potential, but I don't necessarily know what a Hyperdocs class looks like. Is this a flipped class situation? I mean, you talked about the teacher possibly not even being there. Could you all take us through one or more of these in brief?
Kelly's going to jump on that one.
Okay.
Excellent.
So a Hyperdoc really is all of those pieces coming together, as we've been talking about. And just imagine how you mentioned earlier, we're trying to get teachers to understand that the G Suite is not necessarily in isolation, and neither is all the things that you're trying to teach in the classroom. So let's say you're planning for a lesson, and it's going to be a single day lesson or a week-long lesson or a unit of study. What you're trying to do is start by putting your entire lesson plan packaged on one of the G Suite tools. And typically they start on Google Docs or Google Slides. So you usually start with good lesson design and pedagogy, as Lisa mentioned. And when we sat down to author the book, we thought, well, what do we start with? We start with ways to engage our students. There's many different ways to engage our students. And so we would link that onto the doc. Now, what used to happen is that would maybe be in isolation. Maybe that kind of teaching happened, but the kids never had access to that anymore. That engagement activity happened that moment, that time, and then it was gone, or in your lesson plan book or in your own computer, and they never really were able to access that again. So then the next step that we decided on, like when you put together all the things you can possibly do, this isn't like every Hyperdoc have all of these components, but then the next step was to think about how students can explore information before we actually stand and deliver. So before we tell them the whole thing, how can we link up some resources and give them an overview of what the content is? So that's the exploration part of the pedagogy. And then we move into the explanation. So even though we're packaging everything in one place, then the students now have an opportunity to go through the explanation, which maybe is the teacher talking. This is sort of the blended part, but they see your thinking on the doc and how you decide to explain that direct instruction, that teaching point that you have for your students. And after you go through engage, explore, explain, then we want to ask students to apply and show what they know. So instead of, and that was our way of capturing everything that we can do now that's different than we used to not be able to do before. We started studying the SAMR model and the ISTE standards, and how are we using technology to redefine learning? So what tools can we use to have students show their thinking? And we would use that part of the Hyperdoc creation part, where the students are either collaborating or creating or connecting with another class. And then it could potentially be like a formative assessment within the lesson as well. And then, of course, after they've shown what they know, we always build in the opportunities to share, because that's one of the things that's really changed the way we are in our classrooms. So if your students create something, how can you build in a space for them to share with each other or beyond the classroom, and then reflect on the learning? And then there's always extensions. So as I went through all of those 7 parts, imagine having all of those in one place, and the kids would go through it together with you. You decide how you deliver that. Maybe you're all in one part of it for the day, and then the next day you're going to have a few kids who wanted to go ahead, a few kids who wanted to go back and see what you did the day before. Everything's packaged in one place for students to really access the information.
Hello, everybody. Jeff here from TeacherCast. I want to ask you a very important question. Are you tired with the grade book that your school gives you? Are you tired with the normal ed tech that's happening in your classroom? Are you looking for something a little bit different? Something that you can perhaps organize your grades, keep your students together, and really help you create dynamic lessons. I want to introduce you to Kiddom, kiddom.co. Kiddom provides teachers access to a comprehensive library of standards-aligned content from places like the Khan Academy and CK12, Common Lit, and much more. Kiddom's analytics are beautiful and actionable. They're student-friendly, they update in real time, and they don't look like a traditional spreadsheet. Kiddom also helps teachers communicate, and they offer support for students in real time with its digital commenting tool. This thing is absolutely amazing. Kiddom is pre-populated with academic and social emotional learning standards, including Common Core and state-specific standards. You can even add and track your own standards. Kiddom wants to help teachers spend less time finding and assigning work and instead commit more time to developing and exceeding authentic learning experiences based on students' needs and strengths. I urge you guys, check out Kiddom over at kiddom.co, and you can also find them at teachercast.net/Kiddom. That's KIDDOM. We're talking today to Lisa, Kelly, and Sarah, the authors of the fantastic book called The Hyperdocs Handbook, Digital Lesson Design Using Google Docs, available on Amazon.com. All the links, of course, are going to be over in our show notes over on TeacherCast.net. Why don't you stop for a moment here and talk about a great opportunity here that's going to be happening in January. Could somebody tell us a little bit about a training if anybody's interested in learning more about Hyperdocs?
Yeah, so we are super excited. We had an opportunity to work with Ed Tech team and develop an online course in conjunction with Adams State University. And we were basically given an opportunity to develop a course around Hyperdocs. And we absolutely love what's kind of developed from that. So at this point, we've cycled through 4 different cohorts. We generally have quite a bit of participants, and what we're doing is dividing them up into smaller groups. As you know, we really believe in good teaching, and all 3 of us are instructors for the course, and we're able to kind of manage and work with those small groups. But throughout the 4-week course, our participants have a chance to kind of learn some of the basics of what a Hyperdoc is. They get a chance to kind of create their own definition. They have an opportunity to build a multimedia tech set, which we have found to be kind of like the gateway into creating Hyperdocs, which leads up to creating their first Hyperdoc. And then we even transition them into the opportunity to actually share and kind of be part of a larger community, which we can talk a little bit more about later, which is Teachers Give Teachers. And so over the 4 weeks, we have a chance to work closely with them, but also to see them work with each other and to leave with not only some new content understanding and pedagogy ideas, but some concrete products that they've developed themselves to turn and use with their own students. And what's neat too is we're finding that we have a great mix of teachers, coaches, administrators, tech coaches, content coaches, and our participants are global. We've had people from South Korea, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, so it's so, and all over the US. So it's so exciting to see people coming together with this shared vision for changing their own classroom. So we encourage you guys to sign up. Our next cohort, we're taking a break for the holidays, but our next cohort will be in January, and we'll share the link and tweet that out and all that good stuff. But we encourage people to sign up. It's definitely a self-paced class, no stress. You get to read the book and basically try out the concepts in the book. So it's really been a joy. We're really enjoying it.
Jen, as somebody who works with teachers of all grade levels, what advice do you have when trying to bring in a philosophy or a learning environment such as Hyperdocs? Is this something that we as tech coaches should be doing professional development on? Is this something that we can just kind of start to kind of turn the screws a little bit as we're working with teachers. What do you find works, and what can we do out there if we are teacher trainers in our districts?
So I think one of the things that usually happens when I start to talk to teachers about the concept of Hyperdocs is initially they say, well, isn't that something that I already do? Because many teachers are comfortable with the concept of hyperlinking within a document, which is great. However, I think that the important distinction here is that what these women are trying to encourage teachers around is really creating a robust lesson that is really not like the equivalent of like a WebQuest. You know what I mean? Like I think people's default reaction sometimes when I would imagine that women hear this as well is, well, we used to do that before, we called that a WebQuest, but it's really beyond that, and it's trying to get students to a deeper level of learning and also build in some opportunities for differentiation. But it also really serves to organize the learning in a way that packages it very nicely for teachers and students. And so what I find very helpful is their website has some wonderful examples. And so it's not enough for me to just talk to teachers about this, but instead to be able to lead them to some of the examples and show them what this looks like in a classroom. And that usually really kind of turns a light bulb on for teachers as to the potential in this type of way of organizing a lesson.
Well, I'd love to invite our guest today to do a little screen share. Could you ladies, share with us what this actually looks like in a real world classroom?
Absolutely. So we will walk you through just a couple of examples. I love how Jen mentioned we have tons of examples on our website. So when you go to hyperdocs.co, under resources, you'll see different drop-down options between samples, templates, an instructional how-to, and then some of our favorite tools. So if you click on samples, this is one place to find a ton of different ones. And we know teachers generally go shopping based on their content area. So we tried to organize samples in that way. But this is just one place to look. You can also, and we really encourage you to check out Teachers Give Teachers. And I'm actually going to let Lisa talk a little bit more about Teachers Give Teachers at the end. But this is a great place, a home base really to go shopping. You can, pick up a great lesson here. You can, search, let's say you're searching for 4th grade. You can type in search for 4th grade. You can, and then we also encourage educators around the world to start contributing. So I thought maybe we could walk you through just one kind of example. Kelly kind of spoke about this earlier, and she's talked about the kind of our basic Hyperdoc lesson design structure and discussed kind of the parts being, in quick engagement. This is just one example that Lisa created around creative writing, where there's a quick engagement activity where kids are discussing, face-to-face talk time, which we always try to keep that blend in there, right? So we don't want kids just sitting and consuming on technology, but so we always, in our Hyperdoc lessons, try and build in that really concrete face-to-face talk time. There's an exploration opportunity here where they go to a website and have a chance to kind of click around and read some mentor stories. Then there's a little direct instruction moment where the teacher just does get a little moment to stand and deliver. And sometimes that's important still to do in our teaching and learning. And then what we feel is really transformative with teaching with technology is the application opportunities available. There are so many great web tools and that really encourage students to show what they know in more creative ways. Here's one example, Storybird is linked up here, and here's a chance where kids get an opportunity to actually write and create something. Which maybe we couldn't have done before. And we're always asking ourselves, what can we do now that we couldn't do before? And that kind of helps to push us to make sure that the Hyperdocs lessons that we create are, reaching higher levels of transformation and not just kind of staying in that substitution or augmentation level. Here's a reflection opportunity. How did you feel as a writer today? And they can post their reflection here, whether it's Padlet or Answer Garden or, many of the other tools that get kids to kind of sit and all have a voice. We really believe in using technology to raise the voice with all students in our classrooms who might not have raised their hand otherwise. And then we try and provide an opportunity to share. And Kelly mentioned this earlier, but what's nice is you can have kids turn in an assignment, but then you can also link up the whole class's assignment so they get a chance to see each other's work right away. I know we've traditionally done like a gallery walk where you put your assignments on the table and kids get up and physically walk around the room. But with technology, you have an opportunity to share in different ways where they can give feedback, constructive feedback to each other. They're able to share with classes outside of the constraints of their own classroom. And that whole idea of sharing is taken on a whole new level. And lastly, we know we have those fast finishers or those kids that want to go deeper with something. So we try and include some sort of an extension as a means to push our learners to the next level. And I know a lot of our kids like to kind of know where they're going with the lesson. So they have the opportunity to kind of scroll through and go, okay, if I do this well, I get a chance to do this at the end, you know? So this is, again, just one of the many examples, but this one is a nice one to look at because it has all of the parts that we kind of referenced before. Now, not every Hyperdoc needs to have all these parts, obviously, and we totally understand that that's not realistic all the time, but you know, one Hyperdoc might just be focused primarily on an application tool. Yeah, so hopefully that kind of gives you just a nice little visual to kind of go with the understanding of the parts that you can embed on a Hyperdoc.
I have a question. I'm wondering, what grade levels do you generally see or recommend these Hyperdocs be used with?
Kelly, you want to answer that?
I can speak to that, sure. We use Hyperdocs for kindergarten through 12th grade, all grade levels, and now we're using them with the college level course that we're using as well. Because typically it's really about providing the structure for people to learn and using the technology and thinking it all through beforehand. One of the other benefits besides being able to have more face time with students and to differentiate the learning and embed all of the little web tools and ways to meet the individual learning needs of our students is that imagine even being gone as a substitute for the day. We've had substitute Hyperdocs for teachers that are just creating them and then linking it up or sending students to Google Classroom for the day and they know exactly where to go. Subplans. When I was in the classroom, I just had a tiny URL that was my subplans, and the students just knew to go there and know where to go from there, depending on what the Hyperdoc was. You know, if it's not a Hyperdoc, it would have just been a link on the doc to say, go to this website or fill this out on this doc. But it truly was the entire day's lesson plan together for the kids to know where to go. And then you put a few kids in charge of the technology, and the sub really is just there supervising the students. In fact, I'd be at the district office interacting with them and answering questions because of what we can do now. The other thing that's happened is there's been a lot of Hyperdocs that are created not just for students, but also for other educators for professional development. It's been a great way to help people understand it is to take one of our templates, or a lot of people like to start with Explore, Explain, Apply template and just package up your content for a professional development. And then people think about how they could do that themselves, and you walk them through in that experiential type learning. And the third byproduct is really for administrators. Recently, we just released an administrator's staff meeting Hyperdoc template, thinking about when you're leading a meeting for your teachers, how could you shift the pedagogy there as well so that you're not standing and delivering? And so we just released a new template for administrators as well. So it really depends, because anyone who's using all the web tools and application would just put it all in one place and package that up for the people that they're working with in all grade levels.
I would think that, the use of Classroom has really made this even more powerful a tool for you guys, because, I'm thinking about how, as teachers in Google Classroom, we can distribute an individual copy to all students. So are you finding that by and large teachers are using this in conjunction with their use of Google Classroom because of that feature? And that's how students are providing their responses within a templated document?
I think it really depends. Google Classroom, we started making these before Google Classroom, but once that came, it certainly made things a lot easier because of that forced copy. It's interesting, though, that you bring that up, because we have a lot of conversations with teachers around the workflow that they want when they're packaging it all up. You have to really think that through. And so when you send something out in Google Classroom and everyone has a copy, then that's the same as passing out an individual piece of paper to everyone. And a lot of our Hyperdocs have collaboration built into them. So we've explored a lot of other ways of workflow as well. And it sort of depends on the nature of the assignment. Is it going to be, a few of the best ones that have gone out in Google Classroom have been reflection Hyperdocs, where students have already done a larger project, and then we link up all the resources and have them maybe document what they've done along the way, and then the teacher and that student can interact. But if you're really looking to bring in smaller groups of students, then we usually recommend packaging the Hyperdoc on another doc and linking up forced copies or linking up ways to get it back to yourself. And that's what we model in our online course as well, because that's the way that we could really get. So it just depends on, it's really like backwards lesson planning too, because it kind of depends on what you want at the end.
We're here today talking to the creators of an amazing book called the Hyperdocs Handbook, Digital Lesson Design Using Google Docs, available on Amazon.com. Speaking to Lisa, Kelly, and Sarah, the authors here, talking all about Hyperdocs. Ladies, where can we go to find out more information about Hyperdocs and to really connect with you, to ask questions, to learn more about how to bring Hyperdocs into their lesson plans?
So one of our favorite things that have developed because of Hyperdocs, we knew that it wasn't about us creating something and telling you what to do. Lesson plans are very personal. What you have in your classroom, we are not in everyone's classroom. You are the judge of that. And we wanted to make every teacher be a part of Hyperdocs. And so we created a Twitter site to start with called Teachers Give Teachers. And we named it that on purpose, as an alternative to having something that cost. And we thought, let's just try this. Let's see if teachers can not only share the Hyperdocs they're creating, but also connect with other teachers and work collaboratively on lessons that they wanted. A lot of people started tweeting out, hey, I'm doing a lesson on the outsiders. Does anyone have any resources? And then no one would answer, or someone would say, oh, I want to do a Hyperdoc on that. And then sure enough, if those two teachers across the country didn't connect and collaboratively lesson plan and then post it on Twitter, and it started a whole new movement. We started just word of mouth talking about Teachers Give Teachers, and now we're over 6,000 followers on there. And I cannot believe what people are sharing and what are willing to have out there. We're so excited about that. It's a new world for open resource materials, very organic, not organized. It's just incredible how that's grown. So much so that that's when the database, we had to build a website that was searchable, so people could start putting their lessons on our website at hyperdocs.co and go to the Teachers Give Teachers tab in order to put their lessons in. Either share, our motto is give one, take one, but it's okay if you just want to take one. Mm-hmm. And if you're looking, and that is another great part of these is when you're using Google Apps or the G Suite, you could just go to File and make a copy. And then that lesson is yours. And maybe you just liked it for the layout or the design, and you want to put your own content in if you teach a different grade level. Then you can edit it. Maybe you were inspired by some of the links. But I always think teaching is like cooking. And, being that chef and my pasta sauce, I cannot follow anyone's recipe. I want to put my own taste to it. And I think lesson planning is like that as well. And so that's why it's really beneficial to see a lesson and instead of saying, oh, that's a terrible lesson, see the potential in it. I'm always wondering, are teachers looking at these and thinking, like Jennifer said, are these just a doc with links? Or are you looking past those links and seeing the pedagogy behind it? We don't know the hidden pedagogy on these. And that's really a big part of what we're hoping people will do is take time, not a quick fix. I'm just not going to get this worksheet and then hand it out to my kids. It's not about that. It's about customizing it And then it's that blend, what you bring in the classroom for it. So to find these, you can go to Teachers Give Teachers, and hyperdocs.co is our two main places that people are sharing like crazy.
Well, I certainly like the idea about creating something to keep that digital classroom going. And I certainly like being able to go to a single location where not only can I provide resources to others, but I can, take a little bit if I needed to. Sam, I would assume that coming up here next month in the Hour of Code, and, we're all going to be talking about coding, I would assume that a good place to look for information is through the Hyperdoc network here. Wouldn't you imagine?
I would imagine there are going to be a lot of teachers putting their lessons up there, because one of the great things about Hour of Code is you have this little nugget of thing to do, but you really have to build an experience around that. And the collaborative nature of Hyperdocs could really make it easy to kind of thread kids through that.
Yeah.
Jen, where do you see this going in your school district? Have you had a lot of experience working with teachers in Hyperdocs? And if so, what kind of feedback have you received as a tech coach?
Actually, Jeff, I am really new to this particular format. I mean, I've looked at some of the resources that these women have offered, and actually I'm making notes to myself because I may join them for their workshop, because I would love to dedicate the time for myself to, just to really dive in a little deeper, because looking at them quickly isn't enough for me personally. Like, I really need to take the time to create one from scratch. Although it's nice to be able to borrow and build off of something that's borrowed, in order for me to lead teachers in this, I think I need to go through the process from start to finish. So I think that there will be value added for me, even though as a tech coach, I know how to create this in terms of the concept. I'm familiar with all the tools. But it's a different thing altogether to really pull them into a cohesive lesson using the formatting. And I think that, for me to become more comfortable in that will enable me to guide teachers through. I think that they have done, I'm just so pleased with the Teachers Give Teachers concept. And I think that is something that my teachers will find really welcoming, as far as, they've really done a great job of kind of crowdsourcing these resources in a way that's not hard to find. Just as you guys were talking, I just did a search and found a great one about introducing coding to students, a Hyperdoc for that we could use in conjunction with our Hour of Code activities. But I think that, just even hearing some of the ideas about using this for staff meeting alternatives and stuff. These are all great ideas. And I think many teachers, the idea of doing something like flipping a lesson seems overwhelming, creating a video and things like that. But beginning with a template, maybe that has ideas already that teachers may not have thought to use because other teachers have created these Hyperdocs, is a great starter for teachers. And I think once teachers borrow and sort of tweak one, they would be more encouraged to create one on their own. And because the women have set a great example of sharing, I think teachers would be very willing to do that. So I just love the culture around this with the sharing as well.
And I certainly would echo that. I know this is something that I'm certainly going to be taking back to my school district over the next couple of weeks. Now, of course, going through the Hour of Code, getting all these great resources. Ladies, for anybody that wants more information and wants to join you for your next cohort of your online boot camp here, one last time, where can they get more information about the boot camp and all the great opportunities?
Well, we'll be posting the link to registration on our website, hyperdocs.co. It's also on my Twitter feed at the very top. I'm L Highfill on Twitter, and you can find it there, the registration link. And then we'll, of course, be tweeting out that link. It'll be on Teachers Give Teachers as well. So there's 3 places you can find that.
The book is called The Hyperdocs Handbook, Digital Lesson Design Using Google Docs, available on Amazon. Of course, we're going to again have the links over on our show notes page. Just go to teachercast.net, and we'll have everything there for you. Just do a search for Hyperdocs. Ladies, thank you so much. I want to give you guys an opportunity. Let's go Lisa, then Kelly, then Sarah. Tell us a little bit about where we can find you on your social networks. Lisa first.
I guess I already started that one. I am L Highfill on Twitter, and I talk to a lot of people on there. And so if you have questions, I love to answer back. If you're using the hashtag Hyperdocs, I'm also answering that. And I'm going on Teachers Give Teachers and talking to people there and connecting. I like connecting people. I'm like, oh, I know somebody. You got to talk to this person. They've got something for you. So it's all this it's like the dating game out there for lesson planning. Woohoo! I'm super exciting.
Very, very cool. Kelly, where can we find more information about the great stuff you're doing?
Okay, well, I'm on Twitter as well. My handle is Kelly I. Hilton for my middle name, and I do Twitter chats, and I'm on the hashtag Hyperdocs and Teachers Give Teachers as well. I do just want to plug one of the biggest benefits of the Teachers Give Teachers is just having conversations around digital lesson design. And so, as Lisa mentioned, she loves connecting, and that's really been the byproduct of that whole community. So anyone who's just kind of lurking or nervous or something, we're really open. We're all coaches. This is what fills our days. We talk to people through designing their own lessons, and we are happy to connect and talk people through and see ideas. And then, as we've mentioned, there's a lot out there. So if you're looking for something specific, we have a lot of them, and we always encourage people to file, make a copy, and remix it for themselves as well. So I'll help you do that too if you're looking for a specific lesson, or we'll send out the bat call, as we call it, where we'll say, does anybody have a Hyperdoc on this? And a lot of people in the community will say yes, no, or let's make one together. So it's pretty amazing.
Very, very cool. We'll certainly look to follow you guys. And Sarah, where can we find out more information about the great things in your neck of the woods?
Well, I am on Twitter as well, at Sarah Landis, Sarah with an H. But I also wanted to give a quick little shout out to our Facebook community. I know Jen and you guys were asking about just kind of dialoguing and having conversation, where it's, you can go on to Teachers Give Teachers and have a chance to, take a lesson or give one. But what's nice about our Facebook group is that there can be more conversation on there. So that's under Hyperdocs. And then also we've done, Lisa's really curated a ton of great web tools on Pinterest. So what we're finding is that there's something for everyone. You might not be on Pinterest, but someone else is, or you might be on Facebook, or maybe you're only sort of on Twitter and you're, scrolling through. But we wanted to kind of put Hyperdocs out there in a capacity that reaches everyone in their different way of learning and taking in the world. So, so we have those options available as well. But I think our current joy is really coming with our online course, because it's really an interactive, deeper dive into the concepts that we're kind of trying to talk about quickly in a quick little 45-minute session here together today. So that has been our most recent passion, where we get a chance to really interact and build community that is growing. And actually, on December 2nd, we're going to, December 3rd, we'll be participating in the Google Edu on Air, which is, free online PD. So we encourage you guys to check us out at that point. We'll be on at 2:00 Pacific Standard Time. And we're going to actually use our online community to help us with our presentation. So we're taking a big risk there, and but really encourage everyone to kind of join in and be part of that. So when we say, our online students really become our community, we mean it. We stay in touch with them, and
we have a surprise for that event. And so we'd love for you to see. It's the world's largest Hyperdoc happening at once. And that's all we will divulge about that session.
And I want to just certainly, echo that. If you go over to TeacherCast.net, on our sidebar, we have a nice blue banner for the Google EDU on Air. Of course, that's hashtag Google EDU on Air. Check out their great presentation on Hyperdocs. Of course, TeacherCast will be doing something. We're going to be talking all about how to clean your inbox using Gmail. There's a lot of great sessions. Again, that is on December 3rd. Jen, I got to tell you, when you and I were talking a few weeks ago, and you're like, I've got this thing called Hyperdocs, I'd love to bring them on the show. I had no idea how wonderful this was going to be. Jen, thank you so much for bringing this topic to the Tech Educator Podcast.
Well, and Jeff, this is why I love social media, because, the women said, hey, we're on Twitter and we respond, and it's so true. And I try to model that same thing for teachers. I think it's a great place for us, and I really appreciate them responding and volunteering their time tonight to share this wonderful opportunity for teachers. And I probably will be seeing you in your January cohort. I think I'm gonna just commit that time for myself, because I don't take enough time out sometimes to really dive in deep for some things, and I think that would be a great opportunity, plus a nice way to connect with you ladies and some other educators. So I'll look forward to seeing you then. So Jeff, yeah, I've got a couple things coming up. I'll be presenting in New Hampshire at the Krista McAuliffe Technology Conference on December 30th, and on December 3rd, I'll be actually presenting for EdTech team here at a summit in Massachusetts. So, so I enjoyed speaking with you ladies tonight, and look forward to seeing you online.
And of course, there's many, many great professional development opportunities coming up for everybody here. One of my favorite professional development opportunities happens to be an online course called PuppetsTellJokes.com. Sam, where can we learn more information about this great online experience?
Well, PuppetsTellJokes.com posts all of their information at PuppetsTellJokes.com, which is actually a YouTube channel designed to be a kids' entertainment channel. We do hard caption all of the jokes, so you're having a text-rich experience, but it's puppets, and they tell jokes to each other.
Next week, please join us live on the Tech Educator Podcast. Again, we are live here every single Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Next week on the 22nd, we're going to be talking about gamification in the classroom, and then we're going to be returning on the 29th for more great stuff. Catch us live. Of course, you can find us on Twitter at TeacherCast. Leave us a voice message over at teachercast.net/voicemail. Email us at feedback@teachercast.net. And of course, you can subscribe to this and all of our shows at teachercast.net/audio on teachercast.net/video. On behalf of everybody on the Tech Educator Podcast and the TeacherCast Educational Broadcasting Network, my name is Jeff Bradbury, reminding you to keep up the great work in your classroom and continue sharing your passions with your students.